Hey guys, what's going on? So this will be hopefully the last time I'm using this wired microphone. I bought a Bluetooth microphone that should be much better, so I apologize in advance if this crackles out. I've started to notice that it's starting to do it more and more whenever I do longer videos, and it's because it's wired. And it's just that thing that used to happen with headphones and why you'd have to replace them, that it would just like crackle in and out. But anyway, this is a very different review, and maybe I'm going to start expanding my channel into things that are more than just the newest release movies, because there are so many other things that I'm watching, and I might as well just review all of those as well. So my name is Elliot, and welcome to This and That Reviews, where I take TV series and compare them to other TV series, as well as movies to other movies. This is, I think this might be like this is the first review that I'm ever going to do for any TV series. And I don't think I have a lot of thoughts, but, strap in maybe, because sometimes I do. But this is, I literally just finished Euphoria season 3. And for God's sakes, please let this be the last Euphoria season. I'm pretty sure it will be. What's funny is that in between Euphoria seasons 2 and 3, everybody in the cast just got super popular. Euphoria season 1 and season 2 came out, and basically everybody was like an unknown, and then everybody just became super popular, like Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, Jacob Elordi, and the fact that all of them became super popular meant that they were going to be paid a lot more for season 3. And with season 3, they also lost Labyrinth, which is the music person behind the first 2 seasons, and a reason for why I would suggest the first 2 seasons to people. Like the music, the editing, it had such a unique flavor that no other TV series ever had. Like I'm a person that doesn't do drugs, and they made you feel, like, especially season 1, they made you feel what it would probably feel like to do drugs, between the music and the editing and the lighting. And it was just such a masterful, like, first season. The carnival season, or the carnival episode from the first season, is one of my favorite episodes of anything ever. I have a couple of those, like the Sophia's in the barn scene from Walking Dead, Gongbu from Squid Game season 1. Like I have like specific specific episodes. The Constant from Lost. There are specific episodes from specific TV series where it's like the best thing of ever. Like like the best episode of anything ever. And like the carnival scene from the first season was one of the best episodes, because every single episode focused on a different character, and that episode brought everybody together, and it was so cool to see everybody in the same place at the same time, because you were meeting everybody peripherally. This isn't so much like season 3 of this show didn't need to happen at all. And I think a big part of me, like, now knowing where they were going with the entire season, every character that was not Rue, they just didn't give a shit about. And like they do things with those characters, but it feels like the thesis of what they were trying to do with specifically season 3 was show what addiction does to a person. And I believe that was even stated in an interview, that it's about what addiction does to a person. And I feel like every single other person in the show, like, they just didn't care about their storyline. They just needed them to do things because they're in the show. Because I feel like, especially in this last episode, they're touching on so many themes of what they wanted the thesis of the show to be, but they're shoving it into this last episode. So when you watch like an episode where Cassie may or may not get cast in this TV series, you're like, why is this a scene in this last season? Like, what is Lexi doing this entire season that matters to anything? And then you get to this last episode and they're like, this is the theme and we need to establish an Ali backstory and we need to introduce him back into the series because he was such an integral part of it. And we need to bring back Rue's mom. And it's just like, they're shoving so much into this episode that they probably wanted the entire theme of the entire series or show to be. But they're doing it within this last episode. And I think that was a really, really big problem. I think if you go through the show and you just care about Rue's character, I think that the show works for all 3 seasons. If you care about the group dynamic, that definitely ends after season 2. And I think when season 2 ended, I did feel like this should be it. Like, this should probably be it. Like, it already is starting to feel like we're stretching this a little bit thin. I love season 1. Season 1 as a whole is just a great season, as are most seasons. Like, if you look at, I'm the kind of person that I will stick out a show even if it starts getting bad. Like, when people were saying you should ditch on The Office when Michael Scott leaves, I stayed through and I just kept watching the rest of the season. I think most people would agree that with Dexter, the end with the Trinity Killer, season 3, that was the height of Dexter. And then, but I stuck through it to every other season. I haven't watched the spinoffs yet because I don't have whatever service it's streaming on. I'm told that it's good. I even liked Original Sin, or not Original Sin, like the winter one where he reconnects with Harrison. People didn't like that ending, and I thought it was a very bold ending. Obviously, the ending of that doesn't matter because there is a sequel season, which I hear is really good as well. But I haven't seen those. But I mean, I'm just saying, when I watch a show, I watch it till the end. Once Upon a Time was one of my favorite shows, or is still one of my favorite shows, and I watched the entire series. And the thing about that one was when you get to that last season where it time jumps and you have to follow new characters, and maybe not necessarily new characters, but Henry is now adult and he's not the kid anymore. And so he basically just feels like a new character. And then you're introduced to other new characters. By the end of that season, I liked that season. It took me a little while, but by the end of that season, I liked that season. In terms of Lost, because I just brought up Lost, I loved all the seasons. I don't think there was a season that I didn't like. And so if I was recommending this Euphoria to somebody, I would say definitely watch the first season, and if it works for you, because it's not going to work for everybody. But if season 1 works for you, watch season 2, and I think season 2 ends on a really strong note, and then you can just stop watching the show. I'm glad that it introduced me to the other side of Zendaya. The one-shot episodes, specifically the Rue one and not necessarily the Jules one, but they made 2 individual episodes, and one is Rue and Ali talking in a diner. That's one of the best masterclass performances of Zendaya I have ever seen. I watched that and I'm just she is so underutilized in Spider-Man. I don't know why they're underutilizing Zendaya in Spider-Man or Dune. She is being so underutilized in both of those big blockbuster things, and her power as an actress is on full display in Euphoria. And it's just a show. Season 1 of the show is just so good, not because of the storylines, but because of the editing and the music and how it's told, how the story is told. And it was just the first thing that I noticed about even just the first episode. The twists are really cool. The characters are really interesting. It is nudity galore and bad words galore and adult situations galore. And it has all of that, but it also has story, and it also has heart, and it also has great lines. And it also has great characters. And when you get to season 3, it just kind of feels like a completely different show. It's not even the same show. And I think one of the big things for me with season 3, and to compare it to another series, Gen V season 2, In between Gen V season 1 and season 2, Chase Perdomo died. And they integrated the fact that he died into the show, into the show's narrative. They could have had one throwaway line of, like, where's I forget what his name is I was going to say Chase, but that's his actual name. But they were like, where is he? And they're like, oh, he didn't make it. And then they could have just moved on from that. It's like, that's it. That's all you needed to do, right? But they integrated his death into the narrative of the show and of the characters. In between season 2 and season 3, Fez died. The actor Angus I was going to say Angus McFadden, but that sounds wrong. I can't remember. That might be right. But he died. Fez, the guy who plays Fez, he died in between seasons. And the fact that they do a time jump where in between seasons, they do a time jump where season 2 ends with Rue at graduation. And then, or not at graduation, does it end with like the play? I think it ends where they're watching the play and they're still obviously in high school. And then this one just picks up and she's a drug dealer, like mule in Mexico. And, like everybody has like adult jobs. It's very strange that they decided to do this time jump, and they could have just explained away that Fez died in between because there's a lot of time in between. But they instead decided to keep him alive for no reason, for zero reason. The times that he's mentioned is insane. He's mentioned to set up a fake thing that happens at the end that is definitely not going to be a thing. And that it feels really icky that they decided to do that. I was so impressed by Gen V season 2's handling of a real actor's death. And what they did with Fez's character is insane for no reason. Like, none of that needed to be in here. In fact, if you were going to do the themes of, death matters and death should be like you should like respect, like the deaths, and you should like try to become a better person because of other people's faults. There is a thing that you could have done with Fez's death that would have affected Rue's character and made that even bigger. And I feel like they just chose to not do it for whatever reason. And so I didn't agree with that decision as like a major thing in the last season. But then again, like once you go with all of if you like look back on season 3 and you look at all of the other character storylines that are not Rue's, you're just like, why did any of this matter? It feels like none of this mattered. Euphoria is a show that could go on forever. It could just keep going and you could just keep hanging out with these characters because they're still alive. You could introduce new characters. You could, it's a show that could go on forever. But by the end of like season 2 and definitely with all of season 3, you just kind of understand that these writers have no idea what to do with these characters. They're just doing things just to do them. The time jump in season 3 feels very strange because they do still look like the same characters in season 2. Like they don't look any really different. And the fact that they're just being put into these adult situations is crazy. It would be like if you did a time jump in Stranger Things and now you're just trying to say that, Dustin is now the CEO of a company and he's hanging out with all these other adult looking people. And it's like he himself looks how he is now. And you're just trying to say, oh yeah, he's now older. And it's like, no, he doesn't look any older than the kid that you're trying to, portray in this like ongoing year after year Stranger Things. I know that, it obviously wasn't year after year, but I mean, even if you did a time jump, that would also be weird because he still looks the same as he does now, which means he still looks like a kid. So if you put him next to like a, maybe his assistant, because he's the CEO of a company, and like his assistant is Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves looks like an older guy, right? And if like that was the age group of the company that he works for and he's a CEO, it would just look strange. And maybe that's why it would be called Stranger Things. Anyway, so that's what Euphoria feels like. It feels like those same high school characters are now in adult jobs, adult situational jobs. What's her name? Like Cassie's sister, Lexi. Cassie's sister Lexi is now like an assistant, or she's a writer for Hollywood, but she's being put next to like a Jane Fonda looking, like person, like an obviously much older person, and it makes her look like an assistant, even though she's supposed to be older because of the time jump. And it's just none of it makes sense. It doesn't look plausible. It looks strange. So if I were to recommend this to anybody, like Euphoria season 1 and season 2 stretches it, but I think season 1 is like a very good like encapsulation of the insanity of an insane high school. Like high school to the nth degree. And I think that it's like, it has really good characters, like I said, and really good like music by Labyrinth, and really good editing, and a really good storyline, and like the dangers of high school. Like that's what it was. That's what it was. And it like this group of kids that are at the same high school. Maybe they're not all in the same friend group, because they wouldn't be, because that would be unrealistic. But it's like the insanity, to the nth degree, the insanity of like high school. And like season 2, they try to still capture that and say that, this is like an evolution of what was happening, but they are still in high school. They're still in school. And that still makes sense. And season 3 is basically the Rue story. It's basically like you can pretty much like fast forward through every character storyline that is not Rue, and the thesis of what they were trying to do with season 3 still comes through. And I think that's insane. I think that's insane that they felt the need to do a season 3. They couldn't turn it into the Rue show. They needed to have everybody, because everybody is part of the cast. But the fact that they didn't theme it, they didn't have like an overall, the theme that they're trying to do with Rue's story is not being done with everybody else's story. I don't know. That's just how I felt about it. You could like semantic your way that Cassie's storyline of being an OnlyFans model and her relationship with Nate, it eventually brought her to a better place by the end of the show. That she's not like now she's finally become independent, and through sacrifice, it just feels like you'd be really reaching. Like you could try to reach that it's the same kind of storyline that they had for Rue, but it's not. Especially Maddie's storyline is insane. I liked the amount that Jules was in the show. She, like, her relationship to Rue was like the heart and soul of the story for me. She represented what Rue's life could possibly be if she stopped being destructive. And like the fact that they brought her back and had something to do with her, like it was very small, but I would say it was more impactful than most of the other storylines. One of the best scenes in like this show, or in season 3, was when she's telling Rue to have sex with her. Like when she's saying like, take me, and like just get up and get over here, and just like if you want me, you can have me. And then hard cutting to her having sex, and you think that it's Rue and it's actually the other guy. It's so good. It's such a good moment, because Rue is so self-destructive that she wouldn't do it. She would just, and like that's all that Jules wants. And it's the idea that Rue could have like a quote unquote happy life with Jules. Theoretically, she could leave addiction. She could leave everything. She could like be, like she could like become, I don't want to say like a regular person, but I mean like she could not be she could not put herself into these situations that could get her killed, because she is constantly putting herself in situations that could potentially get her killed, and she's trying to fight her way out of them by putting herself in a different situation that might get her killed. And it's just like the redemption that she is so desperately seeking. Every time it's presented to her, she's like, I don't want it. And that's what Jules represents, I feel, for her. And so I thought that Jules' character was used like incredibly well for the limited time that you see her. So if I were to suggest this to somebody, I would say watch season 1. You could probably stop there. If you really like it, watch season 2 and don't watch season 3. I don't think season 3 adds enough to anything, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to end. And, you know, like Sam Levinson, the director, has gotten into so much controversy because of season 3 that I'm pretty sure they're either going to never pick it up again, or if they do, it's going to be a complete reboot, and it's going to be all new characters. Because again, like I said, in between season 2 and season 3, all the main cast, like all of their pay just jumped, because they became like household names, and they started starring in like all these big budget, you know, Hollywood movies that were making a lot, and so they could demand more money. So if they did another one, it would just be a completely different show. But as a, you know, trilogy of seasons, from best to worst, 1, 2, 3. I'll catch you guys next video.